Hello and welcome. This is a quick video where I'm gonna be demonstrating how ZUI works. ZUI is a UI management tool that you can use to handle the flow of your menus and add animation to your UI elements. So let's get to the point. What I've got here is a scene with some UI in it. None of these elements have any scripts attached to them yet. They are simply images and buttons. I've got 3 menus, each one got few elements in it. A pop-up, and 2 buttons, next and previous. What I want to do is to simply be able to go back and forth between those 3 menus by clicking on next and previous buttons. So the first step is to set up the scene, and this can be done by going to Tools, ZUI, and Open Creation window. I've got it opened here, so I'll simply click Setup. This will add 2 game objects, ZUI Manager and SFX Manager. ZUI Manager is the main manager. You have to have it in all the scenes where you plan to use ZUI. So now that we've set up the scene, let's start creating the flow. What you need to do is to select the root object in each menu of the menus you've already created. Click on Add Component and type Menu. Or if you are creating a new menu, you can simply go to Creation window and click Menu. This will create an empty game object that has the same size of the canvas, with menu component automatically added. Now we need a way to go back and forth between those menus. So I'll select Next button and add an action to the onClick event. There are 2 ways we can open a menu, but as I said, ZUI Manager is the main manager, meaning that this is the guy that will control opening and closing menus. So I'll drag it here. The first way is to tell it to open a specific menu, and this can be done by selecting Open Menu action. We can either open a menu by its name, or we can open it by reference. Reference is easier when we are in the inspector, so I'll select this one, and then drag the second menu here. So now when I click Next, it should open the second menu. So it works, but I want Next button to open the next menu, which is the 3rd one, but it's actually set to always open the 2nd menu. And in this example, I don't want to make a new Next button for each menu. I want only one Next button to always open the next menu of the current one. So how can we achieve this behavior? The second way we can open a menu is by telling ZUI Manager to open Next menu. So instead of selecting Open Menu here, I'll select Next menu. But how does it know which menu is the next one? When we select a menu, we'll find 2 properties, Previous menu and Next menu. Since I'm selecting the first menu, then the next menu should be second menu. So I'll drag it here, and then select the second menu, drag the 3rd menu into the next menu field. Now, whenever ZUI is told to open next menu, it will check which menu is currently opened, and then open whatever menu in its next menu field. Now you can notice that whenever I click Next, it actually opens the next menu. I'll quickly do the same with Previous. Select each menu and fill the previous field. And then go to Previous button, add an action to onClick event, drag ZUI Manager, and this time I'll call back. Okay, now we have the basic flow. Next thing we need to do is to actually make better transitions by adding animations. Animating menu elements during transitions is actually pretty simple. Let's say I want this middle panel here to move up out of the screen when I open another menu, and then of course go back to its place when I reopen this menu. So I'll select this panel, click Add Component, and then type UI Element. This is the component that you'll be using a lot. It's the one that animates your UI. So, back to the middle panel. Like I said, I want it to move up out of the screen. So I'll make sure that movement section is enabled, and also make sure that hiding position is top, meaning the top of the screen. Now whenever I add a new UI element component to any of the menu's game objects, I must go back to the menu and click Update Animated Elements. This will automatically find all UI elements under this menu and add them to Animated Elements list. But before we try the animation, I want to disable all other objects in this menu so that we can focus on the animated one, and let's try it. As you can see, it goes up when I open another menu and then comes back down when I open the first menu again. Cool. But let's say I want to change the way it's moving. I don't want it to ease out like that. I want it to have a more elastic behavior. So I'll go back to UI element component and change hide type to ease out elastic. And I'll also change the hiding duration to 1 second. And in case you are wondering what about the showing animation, it'll actually be the same as the hiding animation, unless you open the show tab and unlink animation type or animation duration, but I'll leave them linked for now. Let's try the animation again. It looks good, but I don't like how it bounces when it's hiding. So I'll only keep the elastic behavior when it's playing the showing animation. I'll go back to UI element component and then make sure showing and hiding animations are unlinked, and then go back to hiding type and change it to ease in. And I'll also decrease the hiding duration a little bit, since ease in is slower than elastic animation. But I gotta make sure that the duration property is also unlinked, because I only want to change the hiding duration. Now the animation looks much better. Before we continue with animations, I want to quickly jump to another topic. Currently, next and previous buttons are always visible, and I don't want that. I want next button to be visible only if there's a next menu, and previous button to be visible only if there's a previous menu. And this is where a specific menu feature come in handy. It's called shared animated elements, which means you can have multiple menus controlling the same element. In this case, the elements are previous and next button. So what I'm gonna do is go to each menu that has a next menu and drag next button in its shared animated elements, and go to each menu that has a previous menu and drag previous button to its shared animated elements as well. Now when I start the scene, you'll notice that previous button is not visible. This is because the current menu does not have it either in its animated elements or shared animated elements list. However, when I click next, since the second menu has the previous button in its shared animated elements list, it will actually be visible. And then when I go to the third menu, you'll notice that next button is no longer visible. And that's how you can use this little cool feature. Now back to UI element, I'll switch to another scene in order to better show you the different animations you can have for your UI. Here I have two menus. The first one has 6 different objects with UI element component attached to them. And the second menu is empty. It's just here so that I can switch between the two menus to see the transition animation. Each one of those UI elements has different animation sections enabled: movement, scale and rotation, scale, opacity, and slice animation. The last one has all of them enabled because of course you can enable multiple animation sections on the same game object. And of course, you can play with every animation type however you want and tweak its properties to get the desired animation. This is just a very small example of the basics of what you can do. After adding UI element component to more objects in the previous example, we get this final output. You'll find more guide and information in the documentation provided with the tool. Thanks for watching.